Hi, I'm Armen. I'm a philosopher and political theorist. I work in Berlin, partly at the Volksbühne at the Merve Publishing House, and I write books. Well, I'm less interested in, let's say, Los Angeles as avant-garde, as being ahead of time, but more in LA, but more generally California or the West Coast, so to say, as the place where the future is shaped, or where the predictive or preemptive algorithms somehow that shape the future and from the future also shape our present are designed. Let's think of the companies just like Facebook, Google, Amazon, Apple, and so on. So that is my fascination also with the city and the region in general. But what I found really interesting were the peculiar projections from both sides. On the one hand, from California, people thinking about Germany, having a certain, sometimes idealized view, especially on Berlin, where I live. But also the other way around, when I remember like how it is in Berlin when people talk about California or Los Angeles. And on both sides is of course partly admiration, but then also a projection of critical projection that is sometimes far away from the reality. So from the point of view of Berlin, there's the idea of the California ideology, all the evil things coming out of Silicon Valley, kind of surveillance capitalism exploiting us, and so on, in a very homogeneous, far too homogeneous, superficial, I think, image of California and Silicon Valley, but also Los Angeles. And the same could be said the other way around. But not just negative, but also in admiration. Let's not forget that Berlin is for many people a kind of place of refuge, or a place where many, also in the tech, political tech scene, like find something like a place to hide from increasingly unease in the US. First of all, they're fascinating people. I mean, it's still a place where so many amazing people are, and interesting thinkers and activists. The most interesting encounters for me were like students and younger artists, writers, thinkers, from a younger generation who really have to learn to adapt to a very quickly changing cultural, political, technological, and in the end also financial atmosphere. One of the problems of the country here is somehow the segregation, the kind of like moving apart of different identities, of different ideologies. And what made the country really strong, that being together, talking to each other, is something that is getting lost in a way. In a way, this is also a former unchallenged empire in decline, in rapid decline, and it's not clear what the outcome will be of this unfolding of democratic institutions, of things that have been like more or less undoubted in the past, and especially questions around identity politics are very urgent here, and it feels like somehow the deeds of the past, or the unresolved issues of the past, are now all like coming to the surface. Whether it's the insane energy consumption, whether the genocides which also at the origin of this nation, and so on. They're all like in this moment of crisis. They're erupting, and they seem hard to reconcile. That is a bit like what I got out of the conversation with all these people, even though they are very different parts of the political spectrum, but they're all within a reasonable, let's say, democratic, within the democratic realm. They're all very worried, and I think they've got reason to, but they're still not really talking enough to each other, I feel.